In our Dynamite Conspiracies series, we're discussing the Illuminati.
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello and welcome to the weekly TNT Talk Show. I'm Tony Fasulo.
I'm Tayo Boya.
We're a couple of numpties.
Oh, speak for yourself.
Have you heard us? We discuss items that are in the public domain, and for those new listeners to the show on this programme, these topics are things that other talk shows fail to address adequately. In today's show, it's slightly different to normal, as we're going to be discussing a number of conspiracy theories over today and maybe some subsequent shows covering a multitude of topics, and we're going to call these little shows Dynamite Conspiracies. And in today's show, in our Dynamite Conspiracies series, we're discussing the Illuminati. This Illuminati is a hot topic even today, even though, let's be honest, they're not around anymore, although some people seem to think they still are, and they still have a agenda, worldwide agenda. I mean, let me ask you, do you know anything about the Illuminati? You may have heard it in popular culture, in films, but what do you know about the Illuminati yourself?
I was reading up on it, or, catching a couple of videos on YouTube, which seems to be where I spend a lot of my time nowadays. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. And it appears that it was started by some gentleman back in the 1700s and somethings or the other. In Bavaria, was it?
Yep, Bavarian, yes.
Bavarian.
Illuminati.
That's right. And he had beef with the Catholic Church and the state, and he intended for his secret organization, I don't even know if it was actually secret, just intended for his organization to make a positive difference in the world, which of course was a bad thing, as we now know, because those of us who keep an eye on these things realize that the Cosa Nostra, which evolved into the mafia, that too began as being supposedly a good thing to protect the peasants from the nobility.
The Cosa Nostra.
And when you start things in secrecy is the exact opposite of what anybody ever needs. As you know, I am very, very gung-ho about being completely open about everything except military and intelligence. I want everything else to be completely... I would like the business of state. This is our first digression of the show. I would like the business of state to be conducted in public. So I would like the cabinet meetings to be actual public affairs where you can tune in and listen to what's going on. Because that way, people, they are forced to be straightforward and honest, and that's the best way, because sunlight... Sorry?
Transparent as well.
Transparent. And that's the best way for society. Anything that's done and by the way, British government, for some reason, it loves secrecy. I mean, this is the government years and years ago under some king or the other, I can't remember, that started the Star Chamber. Again, things just been done in secret. If there's nothing untoward, there's really very few reasons why you shouldn't be able to let people know what's going on. Okay, if you are planning a road to go through from town A to town B, you and the road is not going to be built for 5 or 6 years, then yes, you don't necessarily want that information in the public domain, because people rush out and buy the land where the road is going to. Sorry?
The consequences of your actions when it's not ready, then yes, it could have a negative effect.
Yes, where people can take advantage, of it. However, there are mitigations. You could make it a law that you're going to pay the price for the land of when the date was announced. And that's the law of the land. So there's really no good, in my opinion, everything should be out and transparent. So I don't like secret societies.
Yes, I mean, and going back to the theme of our topic today, they were actually secret, and it was supposed to be a group who were enlightened, and they were not bound, as you rightly said, to do with religion. They were away from the church. They wanted to be no influence by religion. They had some good original statements. So it started off as an interesting solution because they didn't want to be affected by any state. They wanted to be religious free, so that everything was secular and made with logic as opposed to, religion and emotion and all that. So the idea of having justice and things in statute using this philosophy was actually quite good. However, when it got going, then they then introduced rules which was totally against what they were actually trying to bring forward. And it was, as you say, a secret society, because you had to be a certain type of individual to even join. And they were influenced very much by the Freemasons, who were also around at that time. And in fact, the Illuminati also joined the Freemasons because that's how they recruited people to join the Illuminati, through the Freemasons. And what they used to do, and the thing was that how you joined the Illuminati, you had to be only a man, so no women were allowed.
Well, that makes some sense.
Back then, obviously, that probably was the case.
I think it makes sense.
But what was really strange was, even though they spouted there would be no religious prejudices, can't even say the word, they forbid Jews from joining, which was really peculiar. Also, another stipulation was, to join the Illuminati, you had to be under 30 years of age.
Under 30?
Under 30.
Oh.
Yeah. Unusual, wasn't it? Because their philosophy was...
You see that coming?
Yeah. If you're over 30, then you're too stuck in your ways.
Ah.
So they aimed it for people under 30, which surprised me, actually, because they used that as an example, but then they only approached people who are wealthy, well-educated, from a good family. So you're really reducing your pool of people, because to find people under 30 who are either wealthy, well-educated, from a good family, your gene pool, in quotes, that you're picking from is subsequently reduced. So, but they did form, and most of the people they were picking were also part of the Freemasons, which then seemed to, echo the same edict that they followed, and so they used them from there. But what did they actually achieve? I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of information to say they achieved very much, because...
And what were they trying to achieve? What were they actually trying to achieve?
They were trying to influence political power. Make some established... touching with the government, touching with influencers, because those people were part of their group, so they could steer them in a different way and guide them during an elaborate and a more less religious outlook. So on the whole, it makes sort of sense. However, the Illuminati weren't even around that long. They just weren't, because they actually got shut down by, I can't remember the name.
King, what's his name?
Somebody came in and actually got rid of them. Said they're outlawed. All secret.
Oh, the king was frightened. The king was frightened.
Undermined.
Yeah, the men have been undermined, and he outlawed them. And the chap who started it had to go into exile, even.
Yes, correct. Now the thing
that's.
Go on, you're going to say.
No, I'm just saying that's what I know about. That's when I was reading up on it.
But the thing was, that seemed to spawn more stories than the truth, because they had.
Now this is finally we get to where Tayo's going to step in here and go. Well, okay. So first of all, how do we know any of this? How you're making a?
It's all from supposition and all.
We don't know.
No, but people are putting two and two together. They're looking at strange outcomes and thinking, how were they influenced? And it's like, no, there's no real evidence to prove certain points. But then again, people would then use that as well. That shows they were successful then, don't they? They kept hidden. Do you see
Oh
what
my
I
God,
mean?
that's such a huge logical fallacy.
I know, but sometimes
There's an invisible cat in here somewhere. I can't see it. That proves that it's invisible. Let me just tell you quickly. I mean, it's very, very silly, and I hope I tell it properly. Okay. Why do sharks paint themselves yellow?
Sorry?
Why do sharks paint themselves
yellow?
yellow?
I don't think they do, and there's no evidence of them looking yellow, so enlighten me.
Oh, they paint themselves yellow so they can hide in custard.
What?
They paint themselves yellow so they can hide in custard. I thought everybody knew that. What is the most dangerous meal in the world?
The most dangerous
Meal.
Yeah,
food, meal, preparation. What can
meal.
you?
I see. Go on.
Shark-infested custard. in a way, it's tangential to what you were saying. That the proof of it is that it's not there, or something that you have been avoiding shark-infested custard. That's why you don't know about it, Tony. You see. And that proves that sharks paint themselves yellow and hiding. Do you understand? The logic is crazy. There is no logic. And that's the whole point. So when people come up with conspiracies like this, I laugh myself silly. It's like, what? How? Why do you even think that way? You know, is this the proof you're bringing? What, are you bringing any proof today?
No. But what happens is, you see, I think we touched on this in a previous show. We humans are a weird bunch. We don't.
All of us.
Generally, we are.
You humans are.
I forgot you're an alien. Yes,
yeah, I'm an alien, man. The man behind the mask. Yeah, okay.
I think it stems from the fact we humans don't like unanswered things. It makes us uncomfortable. We need to have some semblance of logic that it's okay. When there's an unanswered question, we get uncomfortable. We have to fit a piece in the puzzle. You have a jigsaw puzzle, something's missing. To make the picture a whole, we imagine what's in that missing section of the puzzle. And this is one of them. When decisions are made and there's no real rhyme or reason, or somebody makes a decision out of character or behaves a certain way, we have to put a pin or a description on it. And so this is where a lot of problems occur. When things happen, especially in government and places like that, that's done for a reason, but done in a secret way, so the masses have no view of the reason why, how they came to that conclusion, why they acted in the way they did. They start to fill in the gaps of the puzzle themselves and say, well, they haven't told us what it is. No, the official answer they've given us could be a lie or not the whole picture. So we fill in the gaps. And that's where conspiracies originate, where the gaps are filled in almost, they sound better than maybe the real reason. And because there's no other explanation that people can make, that conspiracy sounds plausible. So people start to take it on board and they think, oh yeah, maybe that is true. And it soon gathers momentum. And then that becomes the norm, and that almost becomes the real answer that they believe, because everyone is speaking about it. And when a collective speak about it, it must be true. And so that's how conspiracies form. And in today's day and age, the Illuminati, even though they pretty much only lasted 10 or so years in the 1700s, has made a resurgence because the internet has allowed it to. Because someone has come up with a reason why a government or an individual or an organization has acted a certain way, which is not the norm. And because they don't have an answer, they can easily justify it in their head and say, it must be the Illuminati. And that's where they go, oh yes, it must be, because there's no upfront logical answer. So this conspiracy, it must be down to them. The secret cabal, the secret society, Illuminati, yes, it's them. And then you look for symbols to corroborate what you now believe, and you find them in plain sight that in reality have been there all along, but that then further enforces your belief that the cabal or whatever it may be is actually true. Hence why the Illuminati are now high up on people's agenda. People believe it so much, especially in America, that they have this new world power that are further, well, controlling governments, companies, nations, etc. God, I've stunned you into silence.
No, Tony, I was waiting for you to draw breath, but your lungs must be in fantastic shape, man, because you just went on, man. It's like, okay, eventually, and then, patience is the key to life. There's a lot of things in life, and then you did tire out, and I was like, I'm not able to get my a word in edgewise. I was going to say that I see where you're coming from, and there isn't really much of an argument there. I'm not going to give you any arguments because what you said is very sensible, and I can see that it's probably correct. But my question then would be, well, is there a way of distinguishing between a reality of something actually going on? I mean, let's switch conspiracies for a second. There are a lot of questions surrounding the death of JFK.
Yes.
And you can't be easily brushed off with, it's just people talking on the internet. So, I mean, they're actual questions. They're like, hang on, how did that work? So I think something happened there. But I would want to distinguish what the Illuminati. Why is there this talk about the Illuminati? When did you first? Okay, question one: when did you first become aware of the Illuminati?
When did
I've been thinking about it, and I think it was about like the 90s or something.
Yes, it came back again. I think it was because there was a guy that wrote a series of books, and he released those, and it caught popular culture. You see, and also what stems from it is the dollar bill. You know, on the back of the dollar bill,
yes,
there's that pyramid, and with the all-seeing eye. But that again, people have related it to Illuminati. So that's the all-seeing eye. It's on the back of the dollar bill. So it must be true. They're the ones behind the government because it's even on the dollar bill in the States. So it must be true. They are the top of the pyramid. They're the ones looking, overseeing everybody. But in actual fact, that all-seeing eye had nothing to do with the Illuminati.
It had nothing to do with it.
No.
It was the Masons, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The Masons had that symbol, not the Illuminati. The Illuminati had an owl, an all-seeing owl. That was their symbol. And that never caught on, really. And so, so the owl was the Illuminati symbol. But again, because the Illuminati did have members who were in the Freemasons and vice versa, they mixed the two. So that was how that came about. And so, 2 + 2 make 5. They made the link, and there you go. So that's how it infiltrated basically the belief system, thinking that the Illuminati are in control. But you're right. It now stems. The Illuminati now is an easy get out for unexplained or problems in society, or something's happened where you haven't got a proper answer, and it could be down to some mafia even, or somebody else, but it's easy to then push the blame onto the Illuminati as something that's magical and mystical, and they dominate the world, so it's them, there's nothing we can do, they're the cabal of this secret society. And so you can't get around it. So you're right in raising that point about JFK's death. I mean, I don't know whether you want to even cover it here. We could, because it was very, very strange. Because even the shooter, when you look at it from a logical point of view, what was his name anyway? The guy who was blamed for his shooting.
Oh, Oscar something.
Yeah. Sorry, we've jumped into that conspiracy. But
you did. But
it's linked to our main topic, because There's
Well, oh, no, 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 no. Don't tell me that Oscar, whatever his face was, is a member of the
no,
Illuminati. Come
no.
off it
But
now.
what
Oh,
what
thank
there
goodness
are
for that. I was
there
really
are
scared.
some people who do think that the Illuminati were responsible for it.
What?
Yeah.
Why? What did
Well,
JFK have against the Illuminati? Who even knew in the 60s about the
well,
Illuminati?
they now make a conclusion today. They're saying that the Illuminati may have even had influence in JFK's assassination because JFK was doing things, closing down government areas, or the mafia were being pegged back, and they've got influence. It's just a complete mishmash. Although, let's go to JFK again, where the what's his name?
There is Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's the one, right? Well, the thing was, Lee Harvey Oswald was then assassinated himself.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, by Jack Ruby, whose name I happen to remember. And have you watched the film? You don't watch anything, so you probably haven't. Have you watched the film called The Irishman?
Yes, I have. I have.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember the suggestion in The Irishman was that the mafia got JFK because he backtracked on a deal
Yeah.
he had made with them concerning giving them back their hotels and whatnot in Cuba.
Yes. So there's suggestion to that. I agree, but we don't know because Lee Harvey Oswald, from where the official shooting, so-called official shooting, took place from, the angle of it wasn't right, because they were now talking about the fact that the rifle that he aimed at JFK, the angle that the bullet actually entered him, he would have been at the edge of the building holding the rifle out at arm's length. So if you can imagine you're standing next to a wall, imagine a wall which is halfway through your height, you're standing next to it on the edge of a building. Imagine this scenario. You now lean your arms over the edge of the building with the rifle in hand, and you then take a shot. So you can't look through the viewfinder. You've actually got it at arm's length to shoot JFK. That's sort of how they are now saying that the entry point of the bullet from where Lee Harvey Oswald was supposed to be, it just doesn't make sense. Now, again, there are different views about this, and we don't know if it was him that genuinely did it. They do pin the assassination on him. However, when you look at other theories, it seems to point that that wasn't correct. So this is where it all stems from. When there is discrepancy in the official account, people look for, well, that doesn't sound right. Logically, it doesn't make sense. So they look for alternative reasons. And the Illuminati, as well as the mafia, are now also embroiled in this as possible perpetrators or influencers of the whole thing. So JFK is a whole talk in itself if we wanted to do it, although it is aligned with this Illuminati subject anyway.
Yes, actually, Tony, I watched something that supported Oliver Stone's film on the assassination of JFK. It was a documentary that supported the film. And I remember distinctly that the best marksman in the United States Armed Forces couldn't replicate the shots. And it wasn't as if Lee Harvey Oswald had been an outstanding marksman. So if the experts couldn't do it, then this ordinary chap comes along, then it's extremely unlikely that he could have done it.
But the thing was, it wasn't even, like I said, it wasn't even
Yes,
correct.
you're saying that was physically impossible.
Yeah, it had to extend the rifle beyond, so you couldn't even look through the viewfinder. It was just silly. Now, it was 2 shots in the same location. So had he extended his rifle out to the left or right, I can't remember which side, but imagine it was extended out. Even if by some miracle the first shot hit the target, to replicate a second shot and hit the same target without any movement, without looking through a viewfinder, is impossible. The odds are just stupid. So it was just beggars belief. So yeah, there is some controversy regarding the corroboration of whether he did do it.
Yeah, okay, but I'll come back to this Illuminati because I think we stayed on JFK a bit too long because I don't really believe that many people, if anyone, really thinks the Illuminati knocked off JFK. I mean, that's just one of those conspiracy theories that's just really, really out there. I didn't hear about the Illuminati until what, the 90s, and I don't remember anybody, Oliver Stone, nobody mentioned it. No one in the 60s mentioned the Illuminati.
Yeah.
And again,
the mafia did it though.
There were some questions about the mafia haven't done it since Jack Ruby was involved, and his brother, whose name escapes me now, was it Robert Kennedy, the attorney general? Yeah, I think was looking into something like that, and then he got knocked off. So it's for me, it's a pretty strong case that the mafia, has its paws all over this one. But for the actual mafia to be powerful enough to think that they could assassinate the president of the United States of America and get away with it, I know the mafia was powerful, but I didn't think they would have been that powerful. If I was being in the mafia and someone said, "Let's kill the president," I'd be like, "I'm not going to be with you on that one, pal." That's that's moving against the state itself. So
we don't know. See, that's the thing is the mafia probably have more power and than anyone ever before. Let's be honest. I mean, what they controlled was huge, and if they had influences in many pies, they had influence in the judiciary, they had influence in the police forces. So you say that maybe they couldn't. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they did.
I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm just saying that would have been extremely brave. And I'm trying to put my headspace in the mind of mafiosi, of the most powerful mafia families back then, and thinking, would I really say I could go up against the president of America with the CIA, the FBI, all these agencies? It's a big ask. It's because all the agencies are going to start looking, trying to figure out who did it. And if you make one little mistake, that's it. And in those days, no problem. You'd have been strapped into an electric chair and someone would have thrown the switch. So you really had to be brave. But getting back to the question of the Illuminati, another question I have for you, which I think the first one was, when did you first start hearing about it? And it's in the 90s, which kind of correlates with what I remember. Why did people seem to think that? Why? The other question I have for you is this: why do people seem to think that these singers and movie stars and celebrities are in the Illuminati? What's in it for the singers and so on and so forth, for the celebrities? And B, why do people even think that? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Beyonce, why would she be in the Illuminati? Why? It's why?
That just shows the extent of people's thoughts nowadays. You have, because nobody knows the extent of the Illuminati, whether it even exists. There's people that want to make it even more outrageous, and with the advent of the internet, like I said, people will fuel that. And somebody who's vociferous, that makes these statements, you can say anything literally, and if you get a following, it starts to become true, isn't it? It's just silly. I mean, well, yeah. Why would all these people now be part of the Illuminati if it even existed? It's nonsense. It really is nonsense.
But I'm glad you're saying that.
Well, it is. It's silly. I mean, that even if there was a cabal that had influence around the world, that there could be, right? We've touched on it before, like the Bilderberg Group and people like that you could sort of think, well, okay, percentage-wise.
I actually believe in the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah, they exist.
Yeah, because I think it's not a conspiracy, but it has all the hallmarks of a conspiracy. In that you get a group of people. See, it's very difficult to explain. You have a group of people with with shared interests, right? And people refer to them as a group, but it's not really a group. It's just people with shared interests. It's a bit difficult because you could say Arsenal fans have a shared interest. Are they really a group? And yet Arsenal fans can act as a group. But are they really a group? In one sense, yes. In another sense, no. The Bilderberg are a group of people who have, in my opinion, the shared stated interest of preventing another war in Europe. That's what they're supposed to be trying to do, because the two previous wars in Europe were quite devastating for not just Europe, for the entire world. And they were formed after the Second World War in the 50s to help ensure that we would not have another, because the third European war, if it happens to involve nukes, that's going to be the end of things as we know it for a long time. But are they really, in a sense, a group with membership fees and things?
You see, it doesn't help. I mean, okay.
Secrecy doesn't help. Is that what you're going to say?
It doesn't help. And also it doesn't help that when the Bilderberg Group meet, I mean, for the benefit of our listeners who don't know what that is, the Bilderberg Group is as Ty has already mentioned, is a group of high-ranking government officials from all different, governments, really, and not just government officials. You have influencers, corporation leaders, big influencers in the world coming together, meeting in several locations with high security. This happens. And
yes.
Also they don't minute anything they say. Why?
Well, I know the answer to that question. The answer to the question is that they say that these are, like you've said, these are officials. Some of them who are of governments. Others are representing. They're not representing, but they are from companies, and the companies are well known. And they want people to be able to speak freely and frankly. The whole idea was to be a forum where leaders could get together and speak openly and frankly without having to face their electorates or their people back home. So that if, for instance, you put Angela Merkel and Vladimir Putin into a room, since Angela Merkel can speak German and Angela Merkel can speak German. Yeah, I'd hope so. Since Angela Merkel can speak Russian and Vladimir Putin can speak German, if you put them together in a room without interpreters, they might be able to say, "Look, dude, what's going on in Ukraine? What are you doing?" Yeah. Just really, open cards, put your cards on the table. No one's listening. Get this thing sorted out. So that's why they say they don't take minutes. Okay. It's so that people can have frank, honest discussion.
Totally respect that. But if they actually gave a list of the things they discussed, they don't have to give the minutes of the detail of what was discussed.
They answered that too. They said, there's no way, and I think it's true, there's no way that the media can know you discussed Ukraine and then just leave it at that. No way. They're going to be at you. Well, what did you say about Ukraine? Well, we're supposed to know. You can't start anything. If you start, it's like the royal family. If you start responding to criticism, it's going to snowball. And they have learned over the centuries, you just got to shut up. Because that's the only way people have to make up their own minds, and you just leave it like that.
Well, then you've now contradicted what you've said at the very beginning of the show, where you said you believe that everything should be open, government should be open, so nothing is done in secrecy unless it's to do with the military or state secret espionage. You said it should all be open and transparent. Well, that contradicts exactly what you're saying.
It doesn't contradict me at all, because they're not following my model. They're following their model. My model would be the exact opposite. If it's not military or intelligence, it's to be open and to say, to hell with it. This is what we're talking about. So I'm not contradicting myself, because they are not.
Yeah, but they're doing that. They're doing exactly the opposite of what you think they should do.
Yes. I'm not. Am I condoning it? I'm just saying I understand why they're doing it. I understand it, but it's not the right way to do things. The right way to do things is to not have to have the Bilderberg Group, because you always tell the truth in the first place. If you're doing everything in the open and your cabinet meetings are in the open, you don't need a Bilderberg Group, because the Russians will know what you're thinking. The Germans will know what you're thinking. Everybody will understand, and you will know what they're thinking. That's my point. So the Bilderberg Group exists because people don't listen to Tyre, which is unfortunate, and they're having these secret meetings, secret cabinets, star chambers, whatnot. It's all secrecy, and all it does is just proliferates the confusion out there. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. On many occasions, not even the actors themselves, the state actors, they don't know what's going on. So anyway, we've strayed away from I'm really having trouble getting from you why you believe. Do you believe in the Illuminati? Question number 3. Do you, Tony, believe in the Illuminati?
No.
Then I wonder why we're discussing it, because we've got two people talking about something neither of them believes in.
No, but we're discussing it because it's something that the public are interested in. So we are, in our show, we're able to inform them and make them decide on a decision based on the information we know. We don't necessarily have to be in favour or not. We're just discussing a very topical subject that some people still believe in, but we're hopefully busting those myths that people may believe.
You're not busting any myths, Tony.
Well,
I came here to bust the myth.
Okay.
But you haven't presented me with a myth that's worth busting because you haven't really said anything. What's the strongest evidence for the Illuminati? For the existence, the present day existence of the Illuminati? What is the strongest evidence?
There isn't any. That's the problem. There is no evidence. All that's happening is people are making loose associations with things that happen. Oh, it must be the Illuminati. Because it's an easy get out. It's an easy explanation for things. Oh, it must be them. They're the ones controlling it. Oh, right. So even though people don't know what the Illuminati do other than this pseudo influential, cabal of the world. So anything that we can't easily explain or define is it's a good, easy explanation. Oh yeah, it's Illuminati. It must be them. You see what I mean?
Yeah. It all seems very wishy-washy, and it's not even as good as a conspiracy. It's not even as good as the flat Earth people saying that NASA is hiding it from us.
It could.
This is worse than that. This is even more fluffy and wishy-washy and cloudy.
Don't the flat earthers believe that Illuminati have a part to play in it as well? Because they think that the governments are keeping them suppressed with the truth. The Illuminati are controlling it. And so that's why they believe the earth is flat as opposed to round, because we've all been told a lie by the Illuminati, which is the world governments, to help us believe that the earth is in fact round when in reality it's flat. Do you see what I mean? Do you see the logic here? There is no logic, but that's how a lot of people get to their answer using flawed logic. And the Illuminati is an easy way of compartmentalizing that answer. I mean, going back to where it all became popular again, it actually was set in the 70s. It wasn't the 90s. Because
really?
there was a trilogy of books written by Robert Shear and Robert Anton Wilson. And they basically wrote the Illuminatus trilogy. And it was a trilogy of books which basically it intermingled real research with a founding character of the Illuminati into a fantasy.
Oh no, like a Robert Langdon.
Exactly. And also, saying Robert Langdon in the what's his name? Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. He did the same. Yeah, he did the same. He brought Robert Langdon in as the pseudo detective, isn't he? But he was
what is he what does he call himself? A professor of antiquities, maybe something like that.
Yeah, and in that
something I don't remember. This was in Tom Hanks played him, didn't he?
Yeah. And in Angels and Demons, the Illuminati were part of that, and so again, people believe it because it's a great way of getting it in the front of the psyche. And again, when things are strange, it's easy to explain.
So I don't know what has been strange. I would like to know what's strange. But you seem to be saying that it's a cultural. It's almost a cultural meme, the way you've explained it. that is in the popular consciousness, but there's really nothing behind it. It's almost like a cryptoid, such of something like Loch Ness monster or something. There's no evidence. Well, I suppose the Loch Ness monster, you could say there are a few.
It existed, didn't it? So it was true. This is what I mean. A lot of these conspiracy theories have a tang of truth. However, it's extrapolated out to myth and fallacy, but they're linked. And so because there's an element of truth, you can then substantiate the myth, because you're then taking.
I think there are a couple of major world religions like that, but I won't take it any further than that.
Wow.
Because there was a tang of truth a long time ago, but it's like, whoa, right now it's off left the reservation.
Well, it's only.
What about the sign of what was Beyonce trying to do when she made that triangular sign?
Oh. But the thing was, this is where people jump on it. It could be just a bit of fun. It could be a daftness, or to corroborate the joke. And if it is a joke, so that way you're now increasing.
Are you sure there isn't are you really certain there isn't a conspiracy here? You know, because when you think about it, her name, right, is Beyonce. Beyonce. Although it's a say, actually it's with an E. So it should be Beyonce, shouldn't it? Beyonce. And then you got Kanye. It could be E, Beyonce, E. It could be a Kanye sound. And if you think about, what's her husband's name, Beyonce? What's her husband's name?
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, there you go. He's Jay-Z, E. All these E sounds gives you the I, doesn't it? The E of the I. And
this reminds. Oh dear Lord! Do you see what I mean? This is. I know you're playing with me here, but that's exactly how people come up with this ridiculous justification.
How the heck do you
to justify what they're saying? Because once somebody has made an opinion and think, oh yeah, that sort of sounds plausible, and so it's very difficult to change that opinion when you then discover later that it was all a load of baloney. Honestly, that's the problem. And then you want to stick by your original thought, because otherwise you changing your mind admits to other people that you were actually wrong. And so that's something, again, as us humans, psychologically, we don't like to do. So some people, once they've got a point of view, they're very, very difficult to shake that point of view, even though you're presented with evidence, so much evidence. I don't know if you remember, I gave that example about the tin of paint.
Oh yeah, so you drop a little.
Yeah, you drop a little cupful of black paint in a white bowl and mix it up. It taints it. You no longer have white paint, so you then have to pour loads of white in it to even get it close to the white colour it was before, because it's just a mix. It's grey. And this is the problem, where people have a set idea, it's very difficult to then change it once that idea has been formed. And that's the problem. And conspiracy theories are brilliant for that, because I can keep going back to it, you've got this picture like a jigsaw that you put together and there's missing pieces. And our mind wants to fill the gaps. And we imagine what could be in those gaps because we don't have the answer. And that's how all these things are created. The same with science, funny enough. Science has the same approach. We have an image of the universe, science, and all the rest of it. We don't always have all the pieces. So we have to make educated guesses to fill in the blanks. And some of those guesses are wildly off when there really isn't enough information. And some are close. You think, well, actually, that sort of makes sense. So it's a human thing. We do this all the time. Whereas, some people, they bend it so far that makes it really stupid, like the reptilian idea. You know about this, do you?
Well, yeah.
Like this cabal are influenced by aliens of reptilian descent.
That is something else.
I mean,
That is really, truly something else.
David Icke is, if our listeners know this chap, David Icke used to be a BBC sports presenter on the TV. He was quite well known, yeah. And then he left, and he went off and then started doing all these talks about, against government, about we're being controlled, and if you do a search for David Icke, you will find plenty of material on YouTube, of which some is ridiculed, but he talks about the Illuminati and their reptilian descendants who control a lot of society, including, he says, the royal family.
Yes, I am aware of him, and I started watching one of his videos, and he starts out sounding very sensible, very measured. And I was thinking, this is lovely. I found something really interesting here. Mm-hmm. And then it's like a slow motion train derailment. And he goes, I go, oh, okay. And then a little bit further on, you go, sorry, what? And then later on, you think, this is completely, no, what? How did we, huh?
The problem with a lot of these, especially in his case, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, when you start listening to David Icke, he actually sounds quite plausible. You think, actually, this sounds quite good. What the problem with David Icke is, he makes these little leaps to the next point with very loose, if no evidence whatsoever. He'll make an off-the-cuff comment, and if you don't analyse that comment, well, how did he get to that? He then goes off and explains it. Now, if you don't see those little jumps and those leaps and question how he got to that leap, you then get drawn in, because he's a very good storyteller. He's very good at explaining his subject. So you can see how people will follow what he says, because if you follow it, it actually makes some sense. However, it's the leaps in between, these assumptions he makes, which are not evidence-backed, that you then take on board, that you think, well, actually, I haven't seen any evidence to corroborate that. We're just taking his word for it. And he never actually explains how he gets the evidence. He sometimes says, there's plenty of evidence to showing this. Okay, so where is it then? There is none. And this is the problem with a lot of these stories. Illuminati. I mean...
And why is it that people who believe in the Illuminati, I mean, this is just, our show has descended just a straight out sort of, bashing of people who believe.
I don't think we're bashing it. We're discussing.
Well, I'm about to bash them now. I'm just about to say, why would anyone involved in a secret society stand in front of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and then make the secret Illuminati sign? Why would you do that?
Because it's not secret. It's popular culture, and it's forever increasing the strangeness to get her followers to follow.
No. I don't mean from Beyonce's point of view. I mean from the point of view of people who believe in the conspiracy. If you really believe in the conspiracy and that these people are part of a secret cabal, why would they wear their hearts on their shoulders and make it obvious that they were part of this secret cabal?
Well, it wouldn't be secret, would it?
Yeah, exactly. So the last thing you're going to do is stand in front of hundreds of thousands of people and then make your secret sign. That, you'd be thrown out of the cabal immediately, wouldn't you?
Of course you would.
So and then they say, you see that? Oh, she's really a member of the... Like, why would she then show you that?
I have had an argument, someone say once, it's because it's hidden in plain sight.
Well, it's not so plain that we didn't spot it. Apparently, some people didn't spot it instantly.
Well,
it's not hidden very well, is it?
It's because they're so well hidden, they can do this, because they know...
Hey, sorry, what? Okay,
what? Society's so well hidden, they feel confident enough to make the symbol because they know that no one would actually really get the detail from them. And
apart from the fact that people did. Apart from that small detail.
Indeed. Now,
there was another one like that. There was another conspiracy. There was someone's political rally, and one of these QAnon people said, he's a member of some Nazi group or something. And what it was the shape of the stage. If you really thought very hard about it and made sort of, gigantic, ginormous assumptions, it kind of looked like a swastika. But you really, really had to work, your bottom off. Yeah. I was like, oh, I see. It's like, well, why is he making the shape of the swastika if he's trying to hide the fact that he's a Nazi?
Yeah. Why would you reveal these? Yes, exactly. What's the point? And who's it for? What's this message for?
Yeah.
Other people for what benefit?
Can't you just phone them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It does beg a belief how some things happen. It's like, I think you actually showed me one time a video of a guy who
folding
the dollar bill, wasn't
the dollar bill,
all the dollars, all the $5
denominations.
Yeah. And he said, look, if you fold them in this manner, and it was a weird folding way, and then it would show a symbol of
the Twin Towers, the attack on the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And he laid it out in a way where the plane was approaching the Twin Towers. If you laid it out in a particular sequence, it looked like the plane was approaching the Twin Towers and impacted the Twin Towers. I think you're thinking to yourself, all right, that's spectacularly clever, but why would anybody do that?
Yeah, I know. You have to ask why. What
were they trying to show? Who are you doing that for? It's not as if you could send the dollar bills to terrorists out in wherever they were and say, look, fold the fold the dollar bills until you figure out a plan that we've laid out. It's like that doesn't make any sense. What the hell, man?
Oh dear. It's just ridiculous. I mean, this is why I'm saying the Illuminati. Well, funny you should say that though, actually, because QAnon is now almost the Illuminati for modern day. You mentioned QAnon.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost the modern day equivalent of Illuminati, and the two are aligned. Because the QAnon is another conspiracy that...
I thought they were conspiracy theorists and not conspirators.
What do you mean?
Well, they believe in a conspiracy theory, or at least several of them, I think. I don't mean several QAnon people. I mean, the QAnon people believe in several conspiracies, but they are not in themselves part of a conspiracy. They're like flat earthers. They believe in some weird, or one or more weird conspiracies, but they're not in themselves making the world flat. And like the QAnon people, they are not in themselves making any of these conspiracies happen. They're just saying, watch out, because, Bill Gates is trying to destroy the world or something.
Nonsense.
Or something. I don't know what it is. Well, everybody's got really weird motivations in their...
It does beg the question, yeah.
Sorry?
It does beg the question, why? Why? I mean, what motivations is it to believe something so crazy as that? Although there are some people who are acting on it. Do you remember the QAnon? Sorry, we're digressing from Illuminati, but there is some link. The QAnon, they were professing that the Democrats, strangely, were responsible or in cahoots with a group of people who were not sadists but were paedophiles.
Yes.
And keeping children in the back rooms of pizza places. And somebody actually broke into a pizza place asking to the children to be released with a gun in the stomach.
Oh, did you find the kids?
No. It was just incredible.
That proves that they were able to hide them properly.
Well...
Doesn't it?
You see what I mean? It's just insane. Where some of these conspiracy theories on the surface seem harmless, and most of them, let's be honest, are. But then you've got some people in society who will take it on board to the nth degree. And in this case, thankfully, no one was hurt, but he could have killed innocent people.
Yes.
Based on a ridiculous conspiracy theory which had no substance. So, but QAnon started with some bulletin board where somebody posted some random message about being in government and influencing government, and he was saying that Donald Trump would save, the kids, and he's the one who would be the flag bearer and saving everybody. Now, who posted that? Some idiot or somebody who was a supporter of Trump to try and get some sort of support, but then it spawned off and went off into a stupid direction.
Who knows, Tony?
Yeah, indeed. Now, we've reached the end of the hour, by the way. So we do really need to wrap up. I'm going to ask you a final question.
Okay.
If the Illuminati exist, are we now safe that we've even discussed it on the show?
Well, other people have discussed it before, so, and I don't even think we really said anything. I know we've spent an hour talking, but I'm not really sure what the hell we said in that hour. it's
Or did we conclude that they
There's
exist?
one show where I think I look back and go, I don't know. Do they exist, Illuminati?
Yeah.
I can't believe they do.
No.
I genuinely can't believe they do.
Not in the form that people think they are.
Not in any form. Not in any form.
Well, there might be a group called the Illuminati somewhere on Facebook or social media.
Well, okay. Yeah, a bunch of school kids maybe going around somewhere Illuminati, but I mean, yes, okay, not in the form that people, okay, I accept, not in the form that people think they are. For the plain and simple reason, what is the motivation? What would they be trying to do? We've already got the Bilderberg Group. If you think about that sort of thing, and you think that high-powered people meet from time to time and discuss world affairs and maybe shape world affairs, but not very successfully. I mean, for the Bilderberg, for instance, we still have this tension in the Ukraine, which still could, not very likely, and I think the odds are depreciating daily. But at one time, 2-3 weeks ago, I think things were quite dodgy for a while between Russia and NATO. Fortunately,
They've reined it back, haven't they?
Who is reining it back?
The Russians have moved their forces off.
I'm so totally against what you've just said. It's not the Russians who did anything in the first place. They were in their country. They move their armed forces in their own country, and people say the Russians this, the Russians that. On the other hand, America was planning to send battleships into the Black Sea, 3,500 miles away from their shores. And no one is saying to America, what are you doing there? So if the Ukrainians were moving troops within Ukraine towards the secessionist states, that's one thing to say. Well, they're preparing for another push or putsch against the secessionist states. And then Russia, looking at the Russians there, went, okay, we're going to be there just in case. And yet people are talking about Russian aggression. Well, why did the Ukrainians move troops towards what is clearly a war zone in the first place? No one's asking that question.
Their land.
Well, so is Russia. Russia never crossed anywhere. Russia moved troops within Russia.
Yeah, but
so it's their land too. But there's one rule for the Russians.
Why nothing has actually happened.
No, nothing happened. All sorts of things happened. People got really hot under the collar, supposedly. I don't believe a word of it. And they were telling Russia they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They're going to send warships from America into the Black Sea. For what?
Well, it's saber rattling again, isn't it?
Well, you're saber rattling over two other people's quarrels, far away from your shores. And like you said, if the Ukrainians want to start hassle with the secessionist state, which you say it's their right, then the Russians have the right to say, well, those are Russians, and they've got Russian passports, and we're going to protect our people. We're not going to. What President Putin actually said is, we're not going to allow another Srebrenica. That's what he said. So no one's going to go in there and massacre these people because we're going to protect them.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Oh, so there we go. So I don't like where he said the Russians have dialed it down. What actually happened is that the Ukrainians dialed it down. The Ukrainians said, okay, we're not going to advance on the secessionist state. And then Russia said, well, in that case, we don't need to be here. Yeah. So that's let's just say the situation was dialed down. I think that's fairer than
escalated. Yeah.
The escalated rather than
conspiracy. Is this because you were discussing the Bilderberg?
No, it's because you said. I'm very pro President. What's his name? Vladimir Putin. So if anybody says anything against him, I jump to his defense straight away.
Oh dear.
Well,
that's not a conspiracy, though, is it?
Yeah.
That's not conspiracy.
Okay. Well, what we should do is we have a show about this because I need to hear what your. I mean, I know what your beef is, but you haven't really got any beef. What you've got is, if you don't mind my saying so, a very BBC, point. Well, I wanted to use a stronger term than point of view, but okay. Since this show might end up on the radio, I'm not going to say anything apart from well. There we are. Defund the BBC, please.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
Right, we have now reached the end of our show. Thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed this show on our new Dynamite Conspiracies series that we're going to attempt to do. So listen out for any new conspiracy theories. There will be more. Goodbye.
Bye.